Mark, I've kind of heard from some fans on social media that want to win this game because they feel like Missouri has done Iowa dirty because they got their quarterback in Bo Pribula. So I guess if there's an extra motivating factor, then go beat the team that stole your quarterback. But he was never Iowa's quarterback. And the rumor on the street is that Mizzou was able to put together a package that was worth about $1.5 million, which probably comparable to what Cade McNamara got to come to Iowa. So, I don't know that it was a money issue. I know some sources out there have said it was not a money issue, that it was purely football related, which again, don't know what's true, don't know what's not, because Mark, we always talk about this, but sources can also be biased and have an agenda themselves, a prerogative. So I don't know what to believe on that. All I know is they missed on another quarterback. Now there's rumors floating around there. All right. There's rumors floating around that Iowa is interested in Mark Gronowski from South Dakota State, who is not in the portal yet. And so, will that materialize? Will he end up hitting the portal as a graduate transfer? It's possible. Somehow Iowa, did you see Iowa got linked to Malik Murphy very briefly the other day? And then within a half an hour, he signs with Oregon State. Like, he'd committed. Then Pete Nakos tweets something out about how Iowa was trying to get him for a visit. And then a half hour later, he signed. And somebody on social media, I thought it was a pretty accurate comment, basically responded and said, is Pete Nakos just trying to needle Iowa fans? Like, does he have something against that? Because that's such an odd, he's linked Iowa to all these players, Wiegman and Miller Moss and Pribula. I mean, I don't think he initially broke that story, actually. That was legitimate. And I think there's legitimacy behind the others as well. But as I said on my video when Pribula wrapped up his recruitment, think about the guys who are off the board, Mark. The window is closing this week, but you also have most guys who have entered, who are high major players, especially at quarterback, have already found homes. It's not just a matter of entering. They're finding homes. And so it is an arms race. Miller Moss is going to Louisville. Connor Wiegman's going to Houston. Bo Pribula is going to Penn State. Malik Murphy's going to Oregon State. Who else is there? If they can get Gronowski in the portal, great. This Camden Coleman, who Iowa apparently reached out to at one point from Richmond, was a very prolific quarterback at that level, but it doesn't sound like Iowa's really been pursuing him here the last couple of weeks, and it doesn't sound like he's had a whole lot of high major offers. So, I know we're talking quarterback just days away from the bowl game, but that's sort of the era that we're in. December is more about next year than it is about this bowl game coming up, regardless of who we're talking about, unless you're talking playoff. And even then you got guys entering the portal. Yeah. How about, real quick, Mendoza, Big Ten home, right? Big Ten home. Good quarterback. Part of the reason they lost to UNLV in that bowl game. John Mateer, he's headed to Oklahoma. Sounds like, most of these, you're going to have a lot of NIL incentive behind them. Malik Murphy. How about this kid that goes to Duke? And you saw this as a reported like $5 million or something nuts.
Yes. Mensa from Tulane.
And I don't know how accurate those numbers are, but I'm thinking to myself, if they got that kind of money to offer a Tulane transfer, then Duke's going to become a power because that's nuts. There's no, I can't imagine that number is accurate, but that's been reported.
Some of these quarterback carousel situations become very odd because Malik Murphy, now we will see if Darian Mensah becomes a better quarterback than Malik Murphy, but for my money right now, I would take Malik Murphy. Well, I don't know if he initially, when Malik Murphy, who was a top flight recruit who went to Texas and got stuck in line behind Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, goes to Duke. So when he left through the transfer portal, I was anticipating a big move for him. Well, he ends up at Oregon State, who's not even going to be playing power conference football this year. Yeah. And then, like you say, that the numbers that are reported for this Darian Mensah going to Duke, the top-rated quarterback for Iowa on the board would be, according to 247 Sports, Walker White, who's been at Auburn. Highly touted quarterback in high school, has done nothing in college.
Yeah, let's get a second Auburn quarterback transfer. So he's actually considered to be much higher than the other Auburn quarterback that Iowa did land in Hank Brown, even though this kid's never played. Am I fair and accurate in saying that?
Yeah, I think he's played a little bit, but basically not.
But not as much as Hank Brown has.
No.
At Auburn. So, I mean, do I like the idea of going into next season with Sullivan and Hank Brown plus Jimmy Sullivan and Jackson Stratton? No, not really. Not really. And frankly, if they don't get someone else, and I still think they will. I don't know that it's going to be the highly touted kid that everybody wants. And again, guys could still enter. Gronowski could enter. Other graduates could enter. There's another day left of the portal window being open. But if they don't get another guy that they really like, I would consider bringing Marco back. If Marco was because he's on good terms with the university. He's got 1 year with the Tim Lester system, 2 years with the university. To me, there's better value in doing that, and just having a guy who's athletic like that, who has got a history and a background with your staff, than going out and getting another project. What's the point? What point does that make? So, anyways, that would be my two thoughts. But I think they'll get somebody else, and that probably won't be an issue. Devin Brown now is rumored to go to Cal. I saw some post. Who knows how accurate that is? Wasn't an announcement from him, but he's rumored to go to Cal.
Yeah, so the next two highest rated guys are exactly, Devin Brown, Ohio State, and Malachi Nelson, 5-star, former 5-star. What that means now, little, because he did not win the USC job, went to Boise State, did not win the Boise State job.
Yeah, what? I mean, Devin Brown. Why is Devin Brown so low on the list? I don't get that. Who's making these 247 sports rankings? If he's so low,
I think it's supposed to be a combination of what they originally were ranked as high schoolers coming into college, and then it gets manipulated based on them actually producing in college. So most of these other guys have been starters in college, and of course, Devin Brown has not.
Right, but Devin Brown has been good enough to see the field at Ohio State, which has been a quarterback factory.
Yeah, and to be the actual backup, which is saying something, the number 2 guy.
So regardless, if he ends up going to Cal or not, I found that rumor odd, given the fact that he hasn't taken visits because he's still with Ohio State. But maybe it's just NIL and he's going to go there. Hey, Preston Stone's headed to Northwestern. I think they've done a good job since the transfer portal stuff started. They've done a nice job in the portal. And I'm not saying they've been I think the ceiling for Northwestern is what the ceiling for Northwestern is, but who's the kid they got from Indiana a few years back that was
Peyton Ramsey?
He was a solid ad, obviously. And now they get Preston Stone from SMU. And let's see, who else is on this list that stands out? Didn't Illinois get someone else? Is Ethan Hampton the only QB transfer? I was thinking they had someone else.
The only one I can think of. Wisconsin got a couple guys, and Danny O'Neill and Billy Edwards.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what the competition there is like in Madison. Van Dyke doesn't have a home. Not that he's going to be high. Please no.
Do you want Tyler Van Dyke?
No, I do not.
No?
No, please. Okay. Please.
Daquan Finn.
Who?
Daquan Finn, the Baylor quarterback who had been at Bowling Green prior.
And why is he transferring?
That's a great point. He was the Baylor starting quarterback. They went 8-4. These transfers used to be at the outset of this used to be more predictable or understandable of the situation. And now it's like, why is that player leaving that situation? I don't.
Well, I just talked to, a little bit ago, I just talked to a Division I football player 20 minutes before I hopped on here. And this individual had entered the portal here a couple weeks ago. And just said flat out, the NIL market has changed. So I felt like I had to go test the waters. And sometimes guys are going to enter and then return. I don't know what percentage. My guess is that's higher this year. The percentage of guys that return to their previous schools, it's almost like a chess move. You're going to enter the portal as a way of demanding more money. I don't know. I mean, especially for a starting quarterback like Daquan Finn, he's been in the portal now for 2 weeks and he's still on the board. That's a long time in Quarterbackville, in Portalville.
Let me clarify, because we like to, of course, be accurate. So I spoke too soon on Daquan Finn. So Daquan Finn, pretty accomplished at Toledo. You see the stats there, 18, 23, 22 touchdowns as the starter, 3 consecutive years. Then he goes to Baylor and he was presumed to be the starter. Now, I don't know if this is injury impacted. I'll have to look that up, but he only played 3 games at Baylor.
Well, I'd go after him because he's got a 6th year, right? 7th year. What is that? 6th year, 7th year. What? Wait a minute. 7th year. Okay, so he redshirt. Nuts. He redshirted in 19, and then he got a free year in 20. So then his eligibility started 21, 22, 23, 24, and apparently he's probably going to get an injury hardship waiver for 24.
Yes. Okay.
So that's what I'm guessing. Boy,
Baylor was obviously off my radar.
Speaking of
Toledo, a slow start. He didn't lose his job. He got hurt and got this medical red shirt for this year.
Yes, I'm surprised that he's not demanded more in the portal so far. But Iowa's probably not going to go after him. He's probably what did he do at Toledo as far as on the ground? I know he put up big passing numbers. Man, 22 touchdowns, 9 picks in one season in 23.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Runs. He's a dual threat guy, but Brendan Sullivan has broken the mold to a certain extent, right?
He had 3 straight years of over 500 rushing yards. Am I seeing that right?
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive stuff. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, he'd be a kid to look at. By the way, Pitt is driving. Toledo's up 20-12. Pitt is now in the red zone. So anybody that's curious, Daquan Finn's previous team. Did you see? Were you watching the bowl game before we hopped on here?
I was not.
Okay, yeah. First of all, the game started with a touchdown for Toledo, and then a blocked extra point that was returned for 2, which you don't see a whole lot of.
Yeah.
So 6-2 early, and then Pittsburgh just going up and down the field, and all of a sudden the Pitt quarterback, who's also like a 4th stringer, who's a walk-on. I don't know how I've seen that at least 3 different bowl games this year where you have walk-on quarterbacks starting because of injuries and opt-outs. Anyways, he throws 2 horrendous, I believe both interceptions. One might have been they actually overturned one that determined his arm was going forward. And but anyways, we're seeing in these bowl games how turnovers change games because you're seeing young, inexperienced quarterbacks make mistakes.